Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Okay, the study of the mushrooms is complete. I'm really pleased with it. It took hours to get it all nutted out, but I'm ready to turn the camera on and give you a little walk through my second edition of the Journal of Stitchery that I have been doing with the Roxy Creation girls. So as you open this journal, if you remember from the previous video, I had covered the cover with some beautiful hemp, and then I have glued onto this side a piece of muslin or calico that is pretty much as you see it here, except double with a fold. It was glued down, came over and folded to create a flap. Okay, so for example, a flap. So if that was the size of the cover, I glued it down and created this moving element. So that then allowed me to do a stitchery here and then open it up, and I now had this landscape sized area to do my study of mushrooms. So if you haven't watched video 1 and 2, you might want to stop it here and go back and have a look at the process I went through, as I decided I was going to try and do as many mushrooms as I could that were a little bit different. To the point I even pulled out my crocheting hook and some cotton, and I crocheted some little mushrooms in different sizes to work in the scene. Okay, I also mentioned in those videos that I wanted to add a tie so that I could tie this closed so that this didn't flap. Because if you were to open that and sort of wriggle the book around, there was a chance that this would move. So by having this piece of ribbon attached here to the back of the piece, and as the flap sort of came over, it sort of secured it completely, and then the other side of the ribbon is underneath my piece at the back here, so allowing me to tie. Okay, so let's go ahead and open the piece up. I'll just move it over a little bit so that you can see. So it looks like that. So I'm absolutely chuffed with it, and I seriously could have kept going because I was at the decorating stage. It was like so many little elements being added in the way of pearls and touches of lace, and I was looking for different shapes. It sort of made me feel like that was something you would see in nature, like a fungi growing on a branch or a stump. So the bottom here was just a collection of goodies and snippets and bits and pieces. I added some pistol stitches with some little old antique pearls, and over here as well a cluster of them. I poked in some lace that had like a scalloped edge about it. I also found a little piece of floral treatment from a piece of lace that came off of a blouse, that piece there. There's a crocheted mushrooms plus these two here. I then, using the yo-yos, now if you haven't seen video 1 and 2, I'd highly recommend you go back and watch those, because it'll show you how I treated the yo-yo to create that shape, and also this one here, plus the little one that's in underneath the cap of that mushroom. I also did some random sketches of some toadstools popping up in the background. They're sort of like in the distance. Those over here too, and then couched on some fibers to just give me the hint of an outline instead of, you know, a solid piece of mushroom fabric building. So then I just popped some little pearls in, and the stems were just snippets of leftover laces, just to give the hint that there was some movement and a stem. This mushroom up the top here is a doily that I folded in half and made it quite chunky. Then I put a layer of lace on top of that, another layer underneath it, because I didn't have a lot of room in there to create a stem. So I just kept building on the bottom of the cap of the mushroom, so it looks like there's all fibers and little bits growing. This little butterfly, I had plans to decorate the butterfly in another project, didn't end up needing it. It fell out of my scraps and landed right there, and I thought, well, you're staying. So I just popped a couple little stitches down. I used some twine for some antennae, and then some little beads through his back that are in gold and a pearl. What else did I do? Some more fringing here on the bottom of this mushroom. Plus the fun thing there is that was quite an open space, so I poked in there some wadding and then just stitched it down in a few random spots just to give it the quilted look, and then added the little pearls. So I'm actually going to bring it up to the camera now and just slowly wind it under the viewfinder so that you can see a little bit more detail. So you can see up here where I layered and layered to create fibres under that cap. This is a trim from a scarf that I turned upside down so it went up the cap. Then there's a yo-yo tucked in there with just more fibres at the bottom. And then the stem for that particular mushroom is 2 different laces. There is a caramel one there, then a little white one, and then a piece of calico with some little pearls stitched up. So it's a very layered stem. When you get to the bottom, there's all sorts of things happening, from little fibres tucked in like here. That's the bullions, now I've just gone blank, where you stitch up and you do a knot. Gone blank, it's gone. And added the little pearls. There's the crocheted mushroom. And then as we sort of go along, more goodies in here. It's sort of hard to make out exactly what is all in there, but it's just random shapes from lace. A couple little toadstools here, some more little pop-up, some buttons, some pearls that were stuck together. You know, when you sometimes open a pack and when they're cheap pearls like these are, 2 will be stuck together. So I found 6, so 2 sets, 3 sets of 2, and then stitched them down. So they finally found a home. I could have probably broken them in half and used them, but I've just had them rattling around in the container. That there is the stem up to the quilted mushroom. There's a piece of lace in behind, and then a second piece that I just crimped up a little bit with a couple little pearls in amongst it. Leading up to the butterfly, you can see how she's got a little beaded body with a pearl for the head and just some twine for the antennae here. Okay, I think in video 2 you saw how I was starting to do the layers on that mushroom cap by gathering the fabric. So over to this side, I added some fluff from this twine, just a couple little pearl details in there just to give a hint of something, but it not be too bulky and strong like the ones in the front, in the foreground. This one here was just a couple pieces of twisted calico, the selvage edge, then I twisted it. Then I did the same with this piece of lace, just twisted it slightly, pinned it down. And on the side of him, I tucked in an edge off of something that was lying in my craft box, just to give a few little fibres at the back. And once again, just along the bottom, just random little snippets of things as I slowly built up texture and points of interest, and a little bit of lace tucked across the bottom just to have the design come down a little bit but not poke too much out of the size of the book. My tie is secure in under there. I had to use glue in behind here, my glue stick, and a little bit of art glitter glue in a few of the what I'd call a stress point, where things might sort of pull, like these corners where that tie is. So I'm happy that that's nice and secure. And then I just brought that piece of calico over the back, and you can see I've just done, I don't know if you can see, see some little stab stitches where I've just jumped around, catching the layers of my piece to this back panel. So then that allowed that to be secured. I put on this little extra trim here just to finish that side and have the tie coming out from behind it. So all of that is now secure and stitched into position. So it has found its forever home in my journal of stitchery. I'm so pleased with it. And like I said, I could keep adding to this, and there is enough play in behind there that if I did find a little trim, for example, something like that, and I think, oh, that would work with my mushrooms, there's no reason why I couldn't, with a fine needle, just add that little little piece in. So it's definitely going to be something that I think that will grow, which is what I just love about all these elements. I'm just going to zoom in just a little bit so you can sort of see it's in entirety. If you've watched video 1 and 2, you'll know that I just pieced down the pieces at the back and just did some random running stitch or just some stab stitch just to secure that. I could have done a lot more on the background, like seed stitch, but I just decided it would be just too much. I wanted the mushrooms to be the feature, so I needed everything behind them just sort of, you know, backing away a little bit. So that's my piece, all finished. I'm so pleased that it is done. It's been a labor of love. I've now got to think about some more pieces for my journal, but I have plenty of room. This space here is a piece that is ready. I've torn it. My template, my block is cut and ready, and I'm just going to pin it there to hold it in position so that I can then come to the journal, pick it up and do something. This little element here, that is a bit left from a trim that was used in my Red Book Journal of Stitchery that I did some time ago. And it's just been rattling around. So I'm going to put it here because I'd really thinking I'll do a similar pearl, neutral toned something here. But who knows? I don't want to think that far ahead. I sort of going to just let it sort of sit now for a little bit. The Christmas project is starting, so I think that will be my focus going forward. But if I get tired of Christmas stitching and have another idea, I can quickly grab this book, find a page, and then start planning my next piece. So we'll just do a flip through because you may not see this book for a little while. And I just want to do a rough count of how many more pieces I can add. If you've watched the other videos, you know I was concerned about only having 2 signatures stitched into the spine. I'm so pleased I didn't do the third because this alone has become very chunky. You can see the thickness there. That's nearly half an inch. So it will be fine. By the time a piece goes here, and I might deliberately try and keep that as flat as I can, but yeah, we'll see. I'm just going to push out a little bit so you can see that book again. So I can do a piece here. Oh, before we do that, I just wanted you to show you the colours of pearls that I used on the mushrooms, just to give you a bit of an idea how I drifted through the palette of colour. There we go. So these ones here sort of remind me of those muslin colours. The little butterfly's body, I did a pop of the gold, but that's the only spot that appears in. And then that was the head of the butterfly, and then up the one stem of one of the mushrooms, I just did some of those beads. They were all of the little hints of grass, I guess, these seed beads. And there was a darker seed bead as well, which has eluded me at the moment. It is not visible on my desk. Where is it? No, it's gone. It'll be here somewhere, but it's a real creamy color. So that was the second seed bead. Then there's pistol stitch. That's the pistol stitch was the stitch that I was trying to remember. Then there was these two that sort of remind me of calico. So that's the color of beads that I use. Just thought I'd show you those before we carry on. I also kept out some of these little trims just to sort of show you where I found bits from. These little elements here were all along the bottom of the piece. Just snipped them out and added them to the piece. This was used in a few spots, plus I used it to edge the actual page. That's another trim. It's a more modern one, but it's such a handy little trim from the shapes and the little florals that are in amongst those little curves. And this piece here, it was the gift that kept giving because I used the net part. I then used through here as all those little flowers in that lace. This probably looks better that side. And then along the bottom here, they were all snipped in little rows and then squished up and stitched along the bottom. Okay, so we've got Mr. Owl. I've got one piece I can do there. There's my scrappy butterfly and my scrappy heart. that's completed. There's my two Anne Brooks inspired pieces where I bought a little sewing kit from her, and I thought I do not need another sewing kit, but it was a great way to get some of the colours that I've seen her use and some of the fabrics that she is just famous for, especially if you watch the 52 tag project that she did in a couple of years ago. I think it was, or even last year. She used a lot of these tones, which are not colours that I would normally go for, and then I saw her sewing kit pop up with all these little bits in. So I thought, perfect, if I make it one day, great. If I don't, I've got a snippet of Anne Brooks, and then I can do something as a bit of a stitchery, and that's how this piece came to be. I had an old piece of quilt that I got in another pack, and when it was sent to me, it was all tones of the reds in a bit of a navy red look, and I just didn't like it. I put it back in my stash and thought, when am I ever going to use that? And then I just happened to have it turn over, and I saw the back, and it was all hand quilted with this beautiful shape in here, and I thought, perfect, I'll make the rose part of it. It matches the Anne page. There was a couple little pieces left of Anne's fabric. I think I pretty much used it all, bar one or two, and it's sort of like a double spread. This is the full crazy, full on, the more you look, the more you see, and this was more of a pared back, elegant, and with some embroidery through the rose. Not a lot, but just enough to highlight the fact that those threads are in there. I did the buds and then just kept it really simple. I was so pleased with the way that's come out. I've got pinned in here a little piece of lace that hasn't yet been stitched in, but those tab spines are great for any little snippets that you may have. You got that last little piece. There's one there. Let's pin it in. It's now going to have a home there. So if I come across a third one in the next project, I've got a little spot that I can pop that lace in and stitch it in. So I think we counted one on the inside cover. So I've got a space here, number 2. That one there is complete. I'm going to flip that over. 2, now 3. Now we're at the back, and we've got one of these flip outs once again. So that would be 4, and it's a big long one like the mushroom, and 5. So there's actually 5 opportunities to create new pieces for my journal. So that's fantastic. That's exactly what these are for. You know, you don't have to fill them up. If you want to take your time and wait for some piece that may come into your world that you want to put somewhere, like a piece of beautiful old antique fabric, and then the whole project is built around it. That's just a lovely way of, you know, preserving some of your favourite fabrics. So I've got 5 pieces, is that right? The one at the front, one here. It'll have to be fairly big to cover that yucky piece of quilt there. And then I've got another one here, another one here. So 4 small ones, and then 1 big landscape piece that I can pop on that back cover. Once again, I'll do the tie and, you know, make it all secure. But another day, another rainy day, this is my next projects. So thank you everyone for joining me on this series of videos revolving around my mushrooms. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it encourages you to have a play with the concept of mushrooms. There's just so many videos out there that you can make 3D ones. They're just fantastic. And I know in the future, if I decide to do another project and I want to pop a mushroom in, this would be a great place to come, have a look at this and go, okay, I really love how that worked out. It's the right size, or I need it to be smaller or bigger for my new project. It's sort of like a sampler, a space where you can sort of view a bit of a study of mushrooms, hence the name. Okay, everyone, thanks for joining me, and I will see you all in the next project, whether that be Christmas, stitcheries, which I'm still sort of playing with, or it'll be a stitchery, a random topic stitchery for this particular journal as I finish up with all these different spaces I've got. Thank you everyone, and I will see you all soon. Bye for now.